interesting concept to share, or just some. It's not a concept really, it's just a topic. So the topic is the sun. And I want to start off by saying I consider myself somewhat of a spiritual gamer. Yes, such a thing exists. Right? And I love the sun. I love the sun. It's amazing. It sounds so sarcastic. I'm honest, man. The sun is amazing. And we can see that because when you look in all the ancient mythology and ancient religions, many of them had the grand god as the sun, or the sun as a very important deity. And it makes sense because they couldn't know what the sun, that the sun is what is the sun, right? To them it's it's a living thing, it's a god. Why would they think that? Well, you might ask yourself that, right? Why would they think that the sun is alive? Well, here's the thing. When you look into any kind of culture that lives still in nature, like tribal people in the Amazon or stuff like that. And I'm sure some of you maybe know that people go to the Amazon to take ayahuasca, and that's a very common tradition in all or most tribal societies have some form of psychedelic substances, and also all kinds of different herbs that they use for healing, for all kinds of stuff. And they always have a shaman, right? And when you look at how they see the world, they talk to the trees, they talk to the river, they talk to the sun and the clouds, and everything is alive to them. And so, and out of such kind of tribal societies came probably the first religions. And so obviously if everything is alive to you, then obviously the sun is gonna be one of the OG creatures, right? The sun is what would we do without the sun, man? We wouldn't have light, we wouldn't have nothing. So, and now when you look at it from a more scientific perspective, right? We don't tend to think of oh, everything is alive, right? But that's just because we limit our frame of mind to just think everything that moves, and life needs to be able to replicate, life needs to be able to, be made up of DNA or whatever. Sure. Take that definition of life and throw it out the fucking window. Because you can keep it too. You can keep that definition of life. But I think it's more complicated than... I don't think you can reduce life down to a box of this is alive and this is not alive. Because it's kind of like a gradual transition, right? We don't think of a rock as alive, or the earth. But if you would see the earth, not from our perspective, but if you could have if you were in a game, okay, and you can enter a cheat code and get out of your character and just look at the world from a different view, that's what we're gonna do. And we're gonna not look in our frame of time, 1 second to the next. We're gonna have a different frame of mind. A different frame of time. We're gonna look at the earth, but from beginning to today, and we're gonna have it in 15 seconds. You look at this, you look at the earth from beginning to what it's today, in a matter of 15 seconds, it's gonna look alive. It's definitely gonna look alive. The reason why we don't think the Earth is alive is because any geological processes like volcanoes and all these tectonic plates shifting and everything, to us it happens very slow. But when you look at it from an outside view and you imagine it happening over all those millions of years and just like, you know, watching that, it's definitely alive. Like, I don't know. I mean, the Earth was born one day. Like, it didn't just exist from the beginning of time. It was created. It came out of where did the Earth come from? Well, I think what's the theory, like asteroids or debris starts clumping up in space and forms bigger and bigger stuff and then eventually becomes a planet or something. I don't know exactly how planets form, but they definitely form at some point. So that's like their birth. And most of them probably won't last forever. You know, maybe they collide and a big explosion, or they get swallowed by a star or a black hole, or maybe they last for a long time. They get flung out of their solar system, just going through space. There's a specific name for those types of planets. It's like a lone wanderer or something. He just goes on his own path. But yeah, so here's the thing. We don't think of everything as being alive. But oftentimes the only reason we don't think of things as being alive is because we have a different perception of time. Because if you could watch a mountain form, or if you could watch like natural events that take millions of years, and you could watch it in like 15 minutes or something, it would definitely be look alive to you. Like, it's living, it's doing something. And when you look at stars, it's kind of similar. Like, stars are born. We even say that stars have a life cycle. They're born, they have and they have lots of cycles. It's not just like a big blob of plasma that's just hanging around there. No, it has internal like climate. It has internal like cycles that it goes through. The sun has like a 7-day cycle, and then even longer cycles. All kinds of different cycles. It has a very specific structure when you look at the core of the star, the outer layer, and everything in between. There's different layers with different you can distinguish from them. And you could say, yeah, but that's just a result of the laws of physics. Sure, but if you say that, then we are also just a result of the laws of physics, because we're made up also just of atoms, right? Molecules. Atoms that form molecules, that form cells, that form a body. And it's all just atoms. And energy, electricity, electromagnetic waves, stuff like that. So, I like to view the universe as being alive. Because to me, I've done psychedelics myself, and like every tribal culture uses psychedelics as like some sort of window into a different perspective on life. Like what I was talking about, where you kind of zoom out from your own character and you look at the game from like a different view. That's what psychedelics do, essentially. They take you out of your frame of mind and show you a broader picture of the existence, of the universe, of life. And you always get like this sense that everything is alive. Even the psychedelic substance kind of speaks to you sometimes in a way where it's alive. And shamans do that too, and shamans also view the world as alive. And it would make sense to me that tribal cultures have a connection to reality that is natural to them, that we kind of lost, because we have computers and technology and this and that, and we live in buildings, and we don't like, what's our connection to nature? We notice it's there, we know we came from it, but it's not like our society is built up on a foundation of identifying ourselves with nature. We look at it kind of like, well, it's bizarre, it's amazing, it's wonderful, it's like miraculous, it does incredible things, but it's also kind of alien to us, nature, right? And that kind of shows to me that we have some sort of, some sort of disconnection, that a tribal culture that lives in nature and from nature and with nature, they don't have that. So I'd say their way of viewing the world is more natural, and I'm not saying that their view is superior, but I do think that they are closer to the truth than our modern society, because we have a special way of viewing it too, right? We have science, which tribal culture doesn't have. They only have shamanism and, taking visionary plants and stuff. But we have science, and that's a big, that's amazing, And so I think if we could fuse the two together, like this tribalistic, shamanistic, old worldview that everything is alive, and we have these plants, these visionary plants that are teachers, and they teach us about the natural world and the reality, and we combine that with science and methodology and dissecting everything, looking at the world very detailed and trying to prove everything, right? Because this kind of tribalistic natural worldview goes a lot towards like trust, just trusting and believing, whereas our modern like scientific worldview goes really into the direction of not believing anything. You have to prove it, right? And those two are kind of opposites, but I think if we can find a way to merge them together, we're gonna excel beyond anything. I think if we just go with the scientific, rational kind of blah 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 modern view of the world, we can easily get into a very bad place where we kill ourselves, or we kill the planet, or we just fail, right? Because this is there's no connection, no direct connection to nature, whereas the tribalistic, the tribal shamanistic worldview or life approach, you have a direct connection to nature. First of all the tribes that in the Amazon and everything, they are connected to nature. They live in nature. We don't. And also on top of that, they use natural visionary plants, like other psychedelic plants, in order to get a straight up kind of like a telepathic connection to nature. And I think we have to kind of merge the two in some form or way, and we see that happening already. A lot of people in our modern world go to the Amazon to take these visionary substances, and there's a great interest in it, and there's more and more research going on with the psychedelic substances in the modern world, and they're using it as therapeutic agents in like people with PTSD, I think MAPS is doing that, the Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Research, Psychedelic Science, MAPS. And there's like the Johns Hopkins Institute, where I don't know what they're doing. I think they're doing it with psilocybin. And a lot of very like influential, big time people will tell you that they did some form of psychedelics at some point in their life. And microdosing apparently is a pretty big thing in Silicon Valley for all the tech people. So they are kind of already merging these two worldviews. Yeah, but it's just happening. I think it's kind of destined to happen, right? We had a period of excelled growth and prosperation because of our scientific endeavors and the technologies and everything that we discovered. And now we're kind of taking a step back. There's not that much innovation anymore, not that much happening. We're kind of sitting on the fruits that we've reaped, but we're not really going anywhere. And I think now will be the time to go back and look at the stuff that we left behind, that we're now gonna take back again, because we've had such a quick acceleration in technology and knowledge and everything that we left this kind of left our connection to nature behind here, because it went so fast. So now we have a lot of prosperity, a lot of wealth, a lot of technology, a lot of potential. And I think we're gonna enter a period where we're gonna go like back and retrieve the stuff that we lost along the way, because we were going so quickly. So that's gonna be like the connection to nature that we kind of lost along the way. It's gonna be a connection to reality itself. You can't be really disconnected from reality, but in a world where nature is the thing that emerged us, we emerged out of nature. If we're not connected to that, we're not connected to reality, because that's our origin. We came out of nature, we are a product of nature, we are a part of nature, but we lost our connection to it. So I think we ought to go back and it's like we just thrust forward and we lost our safety line, or we lost our line to our connection. Yeah, whatever. Metaphors, man. Who needs them? Anyways, I gotta close this down, man. I see myself down there when I have my OBS open. It's very distracting. Anyways, so yeah, we kind of lost our connection to nature. We're gonna get it back. I think that's the next phase in our civilization, and it's gonna be exciting. It's gonna be very exciting. Yeah. And so me personally, I feel like I'm ahead of the curve a little bit when it comes to this connection to nature. I have experience with psychedelics. I've talked to trees. They've talked to me. I've talked to the sun. I've talked to the moon. I've talked to the stars. I talked to the fucking earth. I talked to the aliens. Yeah, it sounds ridiculous, but I'm being serious. I am being serious. And to me, of course, it seemed ridiculous at first too, but when you do it, and first of all, I couldn't just do it right away, because I had a normal mind like everyone else. We all share the same kind of mind, and so had a lot of work to do regarding meditation and gaining control of your thoughts, so I could even be open to try something like having a conversation with the tree. Now, it could be fake. Fake. It could be imagined, right? I'm open for that possibility. That all of my conversations that I had with the trees and the sun, the stars, the moon, the earth, anything, could be just fictional, like my mind is making it up. I'm open to that possibility. I just don't believe in it, because believing in it has become unpractical for me. I mean, sorry, not believing in it, like I was doubting this kind of telepathic, like I'm like, I was like thinking, well, dude, how can a tree talk? Like, a tree doesn't have a brain. How can this or that? I can't talk to the sun. Now the sun can't talk to me. Well, how is this supposed to be possible? But the thing is, even if it is imagined, when you still get a use out of it, when you still benefit more from doing it than not doing it, because whatever, when you talk to the sun tells you, come on, get your act together, fucking go to shower now and clean up your room and be productive, right? Even if it's imagined in that case, still you get a benefit from it. So that's what I mean when I say not believing in it has become impractical for me. And I do have to believe in it because I do it a lot, and it is I do believe in it, and I'm not gonna tell anyone that it's the truth and that it's impossible, that it's imagined, but it's impractical for me to believe that it's imagined. Also because of all the whole way that it took me to even get to the point to be able to do that. Because I had to meditate, focus on my thoughts, realizing, like, getting control over my thoughts, just sitting there, and there's one thought coming, the next thought coming, and they just keep coming, and you just ignore them. They're not even like part of you anymore. You're just like, okay, here they come, whatever. I will ignore them. I will not go into these thoughts. And once you start doing that, it gets clearer and clearer. Like, you get less thoughts, less invasive thoughts. And then you can start doing something like this, like going up to a tree, right? And you have an empty mind. You're just like, hey, what's up? And then you'll get a thought like, hey, I'm good. How are you? And then you go back and forth, right? You can't do that if your mind is racing. You're like, oh my god, why did my neighbor's cat ate the food of my cat? Why did it do that? Just some stupid thoughts that you're like, the typical kind of thought patterns that we humans tend to have when we're not practicing anything like meditation or so. Right? I mean, if you have just racing thoughts, you cannot have a telepathic, quote-unquote, conversation with a tree. But when you meditate and you empty your mind, you can do that. And it's going to feel real, no matter how much you doubt it. It's going to feel real. Right? And that doesn't have to mean that it is real. I'm just saying it feels real. And if it's just an illusion, right, and it's not really real, then, I mean, I don't really see the point. Even if it is, like, it is real in your head. And I guess that's where the scientific method would come in, right? We would you would have to analyze thoughts. Like, first we have to exactly pinpoint what is a thought, right? And then once we have that kind of mapped out, we could look at, okay, can there be different sources of thoughts? Can thoughts be influenced by, like, essentially what you want to find out to prove if it's wrong or right is whether the tree actually has an influence on what you're thinking. Like, you can have this imaginary conversation like, hey, how are you, Mr. Tree? Oh, I'm good. How are you? Well, I'm having kind of a bad day. Oh, how about that? Just sit down on my just sit down on me, Mr. Human. And oh, thank you, Mr. Tree, whatever. Right? You can have that, but you don't know if it's real or not. So if you want to test that, I guess that's what we're gonna have to do. Map out what a thought is scientifically, and then figure out whether something is actually happening when someone is doing this, when someone's having a conversation with the tree or whatever, and find out whether there is an exchange of some form of energy between your brain and the tree. Or like whether the tree reacts and stuff. I mean, there's interesting experiments where they have plants, different plants, and they have people going up to the plants, and people are the one plant people say nice things to, the other plant people say bad things to, and the plant that gets bad things said to it just fucking dies, and the other plant prospers and is healthy. I don't know how that experiment is called, but I'm pretty sure it was a legit experiment. And so that would already prove that there's some kind of interaction going on, like your thoughts, what you say, what you think, your attitude towards an external object or an external living being can influence it. It's similar to how a predator, like a big cat, will always know whether you are suitable food or whether you are to be respected. Whether you could be potentially dangerous, and they sense that. You don't even have to move. They have some way of sensing your internal energy. Like, if you are ready to fight, they're not gonna try, because unless unless they've eaten a human before, and maybe then they will be more adventurous. But if they've never met, like if they never eaten a human, never fought a human, and you just meet a wild cat, a big cat, right, or any kind of animal, even, they can feel. Like, even house pets, like dogs, can feel if you're sad. So, I mean, in order to see that, just from your behavior, is kind of ridiculous to say. I don't think they see your behavior, and then they think, oh, he must be sad. I mean, they kind of just sense it. They feel. You're like a dog or cat, they will just feel if you're sad or not. So there's some kind of that's amazing, right? It's kind of like telepathic, like, it seems kind of magical if you think about it. And we can do the same thing. I promise you. You can sit next to a person and you can sense if they are like sad or angry or anything. You can literally feel the emotion that they are feeling, and I don't know how it works, but there's some kind of exchange of energy happening there. I'm pretty sure. So, um, so I mean, I just believe in this type of. I'm going off course here. I know, but I do believe that it's possible to talk to tree, to talk to the earth, to talk to the sun, talk to the stars, talk to the moon, whatever you like, and they can talk back, right? I'm not gonna say it's actually the tree's actually talking to you, but it doesn't make sense for me to say that because a tree doesn't have a brain, a tree doesn't have language. But on the other hand, when you do it, it just feels real. And it's what all kind of like tribal cultures do. They see everything as alive and they can have a communication with the river or with the plants and anything. And I do believe it is real. But I do understand that people would be skeptical of it because we have actually no idea what's happening when someone has a conversation with a tree because there's no research. Like people like that would have been sent to fucking mental hospital not too long ago, and now it's happening more and more, and people are getting more spiritual. There's lots of stuff spilling over from India and from the Eastern religions that also have very very interesting views on reality and very interesting practices that you don't have in other religions. Like in Buddhism, you have the whole yoga thing, where you focus on your body and you have all this like chakra stuff. Like, what is a chakra? It's just like an energy center inside your body and you can focus on it. Like, okay, that sounds kind of weird, but when you think about it, there's even, I just read in some paper, my mom is like a scientist, so she had some kind of paper where they were talking about intraception. So being able, look, we all our sensation comes from nerves, right? We can feel, we can hear, we can, like, it's all nerves. And when you think about it, we don't just have nerves on the outside, we have nerves on the inside everywhere. We have a whole nervous system inside of us, right? So, and when you look into like the chakras and stuff, they're always related to some kind of nerve bundle, and they're vaguely described as like going up the spine. And the spine is our nervous system. It's the central nervous system, the spine and the brain together. They're actually one unit. And so what they were doing in India with like chakras and meditation and moving the energy inside is actually something that we're at the brink of starting to prove that it's actually, an actual thing. They knew that because they did it and they experienced it, but now we're starting to research that area where, we already realized that there's probably something to it because we have nerves inside of us and there's a lot of stuff going on with biofeedback where you can essentially like learn to control your heartbeat, your blood pressure, your fucking, all kinds of stuff that you can start controlling through just biofeedback, which means you have you have some kind of device that measures, like, your blood pressure, or a device that measures your heart rate, or different kinds of stuff. And just by having that number show, you can, I don't know how they do it. I haven't dealt with this topic in depth. I just know that it exists. But you can learn to control all kinds of different stuff. and yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. We're gonna we're gonna merge, like, we got a lot of stuff to you know. It's like, I mean, look, when you look at our development, both technologically and scientifically and everything, it's like we just did a sprint, right? We did a sprint, industrial revolution, everything. Look at us today, unimaginable 10, 20 years ago. So it's like we just did a sprint, but we left our backpack at the start. So now we're gonna have to go back and get our backpack and come back to where we were, right? Um, because we've lost a lot while sprinting. We lost a lot of stuff, and actually, it's probably been gone for a long time. Because when you think about it, when you look at the Catholic Church and the Christian Church and all of that, and the like, royalty was ruling people, and they were intentionally keeping people stupid so that they could have all the power and money and everything. It's similar to today. Like, that's like what conspiracy theorists say today is happening, that people are trying to keep everyone stupid so that they can have all the power. And hey, maybe it's the same thing, right? Maybe when we started, like, the democratic kind of revolutions around the world, which started, like, I think in France with the French Revolution, where the was the first time where we had some got some democracy, because we toppled, we we stopped the royalty, we threw them out. And maybe I've been thinking about this a lot. Like, if I was royalty and I had all the power, and then somebody just threw me out, right? They My brother is the king, and they kill my brother, but they leave me alive, right? Because I'm not the king. But I'm still royalty. I still have tons of money and everything. Well, What am I gonna do now? Am I just gonna sit back and watch these animals take over? Like, I mean, that's what the royal people were thinking of, normal people, right? They thought that the peasants, they're just they're like animals. So imagine that mindset. Like, what are you gonna do if you are a royal person of royal blood, and you know your relatives get thrown out of power, and French Revolution, and the people taking over, they're creating democracy. What are you gonna do? You're just gonna sit back and say, "Oh yeah, let them take care of this now. We're done. Keep being in charge." I don't think so. I think you would try to create networks. You would try to create different. I mean, you're not stupid. I mean, royal people aren't stupid. They're stupid on some level, but not like, they do have education. They had better education than most other people and everything. So they probably were smart enough to know that their time of, like, tyrannical, like, dictatorship was over. So they said, okay, let the people do the democracy, but we're gonna try, infiltrating that, or just gaining control from it from the outside. That's what I think happened, and that's why I think we see a lot of inequality worldwide. We still have people rich as fuck and people poor as fuck. It's the divide of income is insane, and the governments they're behind all the rich people. They're behind the big corporations, because that's the only thing that would make sense to me. I'm not saying this is absolutely the case. I mean, a lot of the stuff that I'm saying right now, we do know. Like, the governments don't really. They're not really doing the work for the citizens. They're not working for the citizens, which they should be, because that's the definition of a democracy. But instead, they are working for big lobby groups and big money, which is, I mean, it's not democracy. We have, like, kind of like a fake democracy. And I don't care if Trump says he's not. Like Trump's big thing when he was running for his first office, right? Was I'm not bought. All these Republicans are bought. I'm not bought. So okay, that means a lot of people liked him for that, and everything. Like he said a lot of stuff, not being a non-interventionist, like not more war, less war, which people loved. Like he kind of presented himself as the anti-Illuminati president. He didn't say that, but that's kind of what he said. He's against globalism. He's against like people like, oh, he's calling out George Soros and everything. So people thought he's anti-elitist. I don't know. I don't care. I don't think the president has a lot of power. Even if Trump didn't, even if he was gonna drain the swamp, I don't think one person can do it. I doubt it. I hope. You can always hope that that's what's gonna happen. But man, I really think we got fucked, man, because we the people were suppressed for the last couple of thousand years, and we have been so naive that we thought we could just take over, put the royalty out of power, start democracies, and then we're done. But no, we're not done. Like now it's not only royalty that we're facing, but we're facing military industrial complexes, like big weapons producers that want to sell weapons to the world and create more war so that they can profit more. We're facing big pharmacological lobbies of drug companies that want to make a ton of money. We're facing all kinds of different lobbies that want to, like, there's a lobby for anything, for everything. And so it's kind of even the worst situation, because it's not only royalty this time that we're facing. They've kind of gone into the background a little bit, but now we're facing big, rich, power-hungry, corporations and individuals, and that's even tougher on some level. So I can definitely understand why you have why you have a lot of conspiracy theories. I know for myself that there's if you look conspiracies up, you're gonna find a whole bunch that are true. And so I would never just laugh at someone who says like, oh, the Illuminati they want the one world government. I can see that, but we can't see everything that they're doing, the rich and powerful and the elites. We can't see everything that they're doing, and we only see like what reaches the surface, what we can see. Everything under there we don't see, so they might as well be doing all kinds of stuff. And people are afraid to lose power. People are afraid that we're gonna have like a dystopian future, like Terminator or like Matrix, where like machines take over or something, or like the rich, the powerful elites are gonna be in one. They're gonna live in fucking cities that are flying in the air, and down here we're gonna have like robots patrolling the streets, asking for our documents, shooting anyone who dares to say anything about inequality, or trying to make a revolution against the elites. And that could totally happen. It's entirely possible. But it could also be that they do have that there's enough good people within the elites that it's gonna be a better scenario than that. And I don't think any power-hungry maniac plan to take over the world is ever gonna succeed. Maybe it's possible that it will succeed. But it's never gonna be kept up for long, because it's just, if you would take over the entire world, you now are the head of a body of government that is so big that you just can't really control it, and so it wouldn't last. If especially like if it's built upon tyranny and conquering and taking people's rights away, it's not gonna work. Because life thrives on freedom, and we're all living creatures, and we're not gonna put up with it. So maybe someone could take over the entire world, but they wouldn't be able to keep it up. So even if it would happen, I still think the best thing to do would be to not resist it. Because when you resist it, you just, if it comes and you resist, you're just going to be killed if it's a tyrannical takeover. So what do you do instead? You just go with it, because you're smarter than that, because dead, you're no use when you're dead. So you just go with it. Once the takeover is gone, once everything is taken over, well then, what now, right? And now you just wait, right? And you slowly start amping up the resistance. Like, you do the least, the least rebellious thing you can do, that will not get you in prison or killed. And then you try to amp that up, and you form connections with people, and then you plan to take over your local place again. You work with the police state and the politicians and everything. You work with them to take over this one world government. And even if you don't do a lot, I think it's just gonna collapse. If someone was able to take over the entire world, I think it's just gonna collapse. This whole system will collapse within like weeks. I don't think, like, maybe if you really try hard and you have a lot of smart people on it, really thinking about it, then it could work. But I do think your intentions need to be at the right place for it to work. And I think they could be. I think the elite could be, having good intentions. At least I think there's gonna be enough of them with good intentions, so that it's not gonna turn into a fucking Matrix movie or Terminator movie or some kind of dystopian police state. Even though we are pretty close to a police state, like almost everywhere in the world, like especially in the modern industrialized world. Like, when you look at the cops in America or in Germany or France or everything, like, people are getting mad about, like, Belarus, I think it's called in English, Belarus. Like, come on, dude. I mean, when I look at protests that happened here in my country, Germany, dude, the police, they're just as brutal. They're brutal. It could definitely get to a place where we could get into a police state. But that's not gonna last. So I'm not worried about it, because sure, it could happen, and it could create a lot of suffering, but it's gonna fail. So I think it's best to not resist. Because when you resist, you're only creating trouble for yourselves and the people around you. I mean, if it gets to a really bad place where people are being like in the Nazi, like the Nazis, like they killed people based on some kind of trait, right? They killed people that were disabled, they killed Jews, they killed all kinds, right, of people just based on attributes that they have. If that happens, I mean, of course you should resist. The problem was in Germany, the people didn't really know about it. Like, it was never like there. It was secret. It was kept secret. Nobody really knew about it. There's there's like barely any documents within the Nazi historical records that talk about the Holocaust. It was kept extremely secret. No, like nobody, people didn't know about it. The thing that the Nazis were always saying was, we want to get the Jews out of here, and they did get them out of there, right? They did get a lot of them. I know this one document called the Havara Agreement, where the Nazis basically agreed to transport like 10,000, I think it was, 10,000 of the richest Jews out of Germany into Palestine. And that actually happened. So they did get some out. And also they deported a lot of them. But then I guess at some point, I don't know exactly why or when this happened, they decided killing them. And people didn't know about it because it was never talked about anywhere. So in that case, it's tough to be like, okay, we need to rebel now, right? You would need to have some intel on what's happening in order to go out and say like, okay, we gotta do something. But then, you're just gonna probably get killed. So it's a tough call. Like, evil can get very powerful and maintain, but not without good, right? So the Nazis were only able to do what they did because what did they do before that? Before there was any talk about Jews or any talk about war or anything like that. When Hitler came to power, the first thing that he did with his party was Germany was in an economic depression, and they got it out of that. Like, they did a lot of programs. The Volkswagen was Hitler supported that financially. The Nazi party. They built the Autobahn. They did a lot of great stuff in the beginning. So that was good. That was undeniably good. In the beginning, the first stuff they did was good. And that's why they were able to get so much people behind them. Because people saw that and they thought, well, anything they're going to do is going to be good. It's going to be great. So they trusted them. So if they were just bad from the beginning, they wouldn't have been able to do all the bad stuff that they did in the end. Because people wouldn't have trusted them. So evil cannot be successful without good. You need good first. For evil to be like, that's kind of how psychopaths work. They're nice to you just to serve the purpose of gaining your trust. And then they show their real psychopathic side. That's what psychopaths do. They do good to you. They are nice. They do good at first to you so they can get your trust. And then they show their real evil side. And so I do really believe that, like, you cannot do a lot of evil if you don't at least have done some good in the beginning. So it's a tough spot. But let's say we get like a one world government that is like a tyrannical dictatorship and get some crazy ideas like, I don't know, they want to kill, we have to kill all the weak people, or I don't know, we have to kill all the straight white males. Well, if we get a tyrannical dictatorship like that, I don't think it's gonna last. And I guess, if it gets too far, one should, fight against it. But it's tough to say, right? If you don't know it's going too far, then what are you going to do? You need the knowledge first. And then you need to you need to be able to actually do something that changes it. If you can't change it and you're just gonna die, then there's no purpose in rebelling, right? Anyway, dude, I'm going off topic. I've gone into the rabbit hole and out again. That's how far I'm off topic now. I was talking about the sun. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed me rambling for almost an hour now. I'm gonna finish it here, right now. God, man, I can talk non-stop. Jesus. Whew. Well. I think I'm done talking about, whatever. Hey, it's great weather, man. Amazing. It's bright. It's amazing. I'm gonna play more games. I'm gonna stop recording now and end the stream for a second. And then I'll be coming back. So stay tuned.